The following is a Sportsnet presentation in association with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Number 31, Max Scherzer.
There's not a better competitor in all of baseball. He loves to compete.
I'm playing to win the World Series. That's what motivates me. That's why I prepare myself to go out there and be the best I can.
And he got him. Swing and a miss.
And Gallagher.
There's electricity in the air when a Max Scherzer's on the mound.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big addition to this rotation for sure.
We got some guys that can really play ball here, and if we can get everything to click here, we're going to make some noise.
The season's third game presents itself today on Sportsnet, and you will see a man headed for the Hall of Fame one day making his debut with his club. For that, to the broadcast booth we go. Dan Schulman is with Buck Martinez.
Well, Jamie, there are debuts, and there are debuts. It is not every day that a future Hall of Famer joins a new team, especially at this point of his career. There's a lot of excitement about Max Scherzer taking the mound today.
And there should be, Dan. He's one of the best pitchers we've ever seen. When you look at what Max Scherzer has done for his career, it's pretty remarkable. 9 seasons of 200 or more strikeouts. He's won the Cy Young Award 3 different times. Twice he's won the World Series. He's thrown 2 no-hitters, and he has a 20 strikeout game. I don't expect him to rack up 20 strikeouts in a game this season, but I know he can still pitch. He can really locate the fastball. He's got a terrific breaking ball. That's the slider right there. It's tight spin, and the curveball has always been one of the best curveballs in baseball. Max Scherzer, when he goes to the mound, nobody is as prepared to pitch as Max Scherzer is. You're going to see the intensity tonight. It reminds me of Roy Halladay, Roger Clemens, and Dave Stieb, one of the best trio of pitchers this organization's ever had, and Max Scherzer is going to do the same thing.
As folks know, the thumb issue hampered him at times in the spring, but John Schneider says all systems go, Jamie, heading into this start today.
He'll rely on the club offensively after they scored 8 times in a victory last night over the Orioles. This afternoon, a fair is on tap on Sportsnet. We'll take a quick break and bring you back to the Rogers Center.
Debut, 18 years in the big leagues, 3 Cy Youngs, a great spring when he was able to be out on the mound. Again, all systems go, we are told, for that thumb here today. Hopefully Scherzer is able to do here today what he did in the spring for the Blue Jays. He will be facing a very potent Baltimore Orioles lineup that was held in check by Kevin Gausman and company last night. Jackson Holliday had a home run last night off Gausman. He's got 6 in the big leagues. 4 have come against the Blue Jays. A couple of changes for Brandon Hyde, Ryan Mountcastle, and Tyler O'Neill, both starting the game on the bench today for Baltimore.
Well, Max Scherzer is one of the premier pitchers in all of baseball and has been for a long time. As Dan mentioned, this is his 18th season in the big leagues. He's 40 years old. Signed originally by the Arizona Diamondbacks. He was traded to Detroit. He came up with the Diamondbacks in 2008. Had a great run in Washington. He went 92-47 pitching for the Nationals, and he has been a World Series champ twice.
I don't know about you, but whenever the day was, however I heard, Max Scherzer has signed with the Toronto Blue Jays. That was a what? Really? And here he is again. Great in the spring. 13 innings, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 18 strikeouts. Not fully built up because the thumb cost him some time. So we'll see how deep into the game he's able to get and how effective he is. Colton Cowser, the left fielder, is going to lead it off for the Orioles. And the first pitch from Scherzer, down and in for ball 1.
Well, you mentioned that reaction when the Blue Jays signed Scherzer. I had the same reaction when they traded for David Cone and David Price. Like, are there 2 David Cones? Are there 2 David Prices?
In the air to center field, deep. And it's gone. And the first batter of the ball game, Colton Cowser, sends one out to straightaway center field to give the Orioles the lead.
I'll tell you what, the ball is flying all around baseball early in the season, and the Orioles, of course, had a huge game in the opener on Thursday when they hit 6 home runs, and Cowser gets this game off running with a home run. His first of the season. Let's watch the location of this pitch, and that was a little bit too much in the middle. You could see Kirk was set up outside. He wanted that 2-seamer away, and it got an awful lot of the plate away from Cowser.
Now Adley Rutschman takes a belt-high strike. One more look at the home run.
You can see it's actually a 4-seamer that runs to the outside part of the plate, but he didn't get it away where he wanted it.
Rutschman lifts it in the air to left center. Nathan Lucas getting the start out there today.
The Blue Jays have worked hard on defense, and they've been a good defensive club for the last 2 years. This year, I think they're even better. Today, the outfield lines up with Snyder, Lucas, and Santander from left to right. The infield had a good game last night. Today, it's Clement, Bichette, Jimenez, and Guerrero. Alejandro Kirk catching his 3rd game in a row to start this season.
There's a curveball from Scherzer that drops in for a strike at the top of the zone to Ryan O'Hearn. The DH the first couple of games in this series. At first base today, Rutschman DHing. That's why Mountcastle's not in the lineup. A little bit in. The velocity for Scherzer, 92-94 in the spring with the fastball. He's got a fastball, cutter, slider, curveball, change. 5-pitch guy as Pete Walker looks on intently from the third base dugout.
Yeah, and he uses that conventional windup. He's really old school. He understands he's going to take a lot of information from what he sees during the game, make in-game adjustments, and you know, he's, as I mentioned earlier, he's as well prepared as any pitcher I've ever been around. He does his homework and he's ready to go.
That's the cutter there, and it misses low. 2 balls, 2 strikes. John Schneider said of Scherzer before the game, the Mad Max persona is real. The talent, the high level of thinking, and the preparation are all elite. It's not just a guy out there on the mound because of talent. Nice backhanded stop, Guerrero, and he fires it right over the shoulder of Scherzer. Now the tag, and they got him. As O'Hearn obviously made a little turn, just a little bit of intent, to go to second, and an alert play by Alejandro Kirk to back it up, and they get the out at first.
I think Max was surprised by the velocity of Guerrero's throw. It really eats him up. Vladdy's one of the best at this, and he throws it right on the money to Scherzer, but look how hard it is. And it surprises Max, but look at Kirk. He backs up the play perfectly, and Max is there to put the tag on O'Hearn.
Just that little turn to the left is all it took, and the Blue Jays get a second out. Now a fastball for a strike to the cleanup man today, Jordan Westburg. So the scoring on the play is 3-1-2-1, as now Westburg hits one a long way to left center, and that ball is gone. The second home run in the inning for the Orioles. It is 2-0.
Westburg hit a home run in the 8th inning on the opener on Thursday afternoon, and he jumped on that breaking ball. Looked like a curveball that Max throws up there, and you can see he's right over the middle of the plate, and it's more of a slider than a curveball, and his slider just spins right out of the plate and didn't break.
The Orioles have come out swinging against Scherzer here today. There's a fastball for a strike now to Cedric Mullins, the center fielder, who hit 2 home runs on opening day back on Thursday. Curveball fouled off. Scherzer out in front 0-2. Boy, they've got dangerous hitters 1 through 9 in their everyday lineup. They really do. The Blue Jays, the 7th different team for Max Scherzer in his big league career. 3 Cy Youngs, 2 with Washington, 1 with Detroit, 2 World Series championships, 1 with the Nationals, 1 with the Dodgers, or 1 with the Rangers, excuse me. 1 with the Nationals, 1 with the Rangers. And line to first, right at Guerrero, and that'll retire the side, but not before the Orioles hit a couple out. Bottom of the first, Bo Bichette in the leadoff spot again here this afternoon. The Blue Jays come up trailing 2-0. Bo with a couple of hits drove in a run in last night's game as we show you the Saturday afternoon lineup for John Schneider and the Blue Jays. Guerrero is in the 2 spot. He had a couple of hits and an RBI last night, and he's got 5 long balls in his career against Dean Kramer. Will Wagner's back in there. He's swinging it well, DHing Davis Schneider, getting his first start of the season as well.
29-year Dean Kramer will make his season debut against the Blue Jays here. He has pitched a lot against the Blue Jays, and as Dan mentioned, Vladdy owns him. 5 career home runs, the most allowed by Kramer to any one batter. So Vladdy has always enjoyed a lot of success against Kramer.
The 2 batters Kramer has faced the most in his career are Guerrero and Bichette. Big swing and a foul back at a first pitch fastball by Bo. The Blue Jays 14 hits last night, didn't hit a homer, scored 5 runs in the 4th inning, put the ball in play, hit it hard, and wound up beating the Orioles 8-2 to even up the season opening series at a win apiece. Did he check it? Nope, he did not. Called a swing by the home plate umpire, Ryan Addison, and it's 1-2. Kramer's been the one constant in the Baltimore rotation really the last 5 years. Guys have come and gone, but Kramer's always kind of been there as the number 3 guy, number 4 guy. Pitches a fair number of innings for the Orioles season after season.
Now, Brandon Hyde, he knows that if he's healthy, he'll keep in ball games. He can do that. He dealt a couple injuries the last couple of seasons.
This one's lined into right, and that's down for a base hit. So Bichette aboard to bring up his buddy Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Again, a good night at the plate for Guerrero. Hit the ball hard and a lot of energy getting out of the box.
Well, that swing was right after he took what he thought was ball 4. It was called a strike, and he had to come back to home plate. He didn't waste any time taking advantage of that. He hit a line drive into the gap in right center and hustled out of the box and got himself a double.
And again, as we showed you off the top, a lot of success for Guerrero against Kramer. 10 for 28, including 5 home runs. In there at 95 at the knees and quickly 0-2.
Yeah, Guerrero has had the kind of success that Adley Rutschman has had against Jose Barrios. Hitting him hard, hitting the ball out of the ballpark.
Pete Walker and Alejandro Kirk going over the top half of the inning. Upstairs, ball 1. And this one's lined into right center, a base hit. Bichette's going to make the turn and go to third. Runners on the corners with nobody out.
This is exactly why John Snyder has put the lineup together as he has, with Bichette leading things off, Guerrero batting behind him. And you try to ambush that starting pitcher before he can really get into the flow of the game. Guerrero rips this ball into center field. Mo cruises around second, and just like that, the Blue Jays have first and third, nobody out for their number 3 hitter. This is the pocket that John expects to do most of the damage for the Blue Jays.
So first and third, nobody out, and now Kramer is going to face a guy who was his teammate for the last several years, Anthony Santander. Upstairs for ball 1. Santander 2 for 4 with a walk in last night's game. Thought about it, but checked the swing, and it's 2-0.
I always found these matchups to be interesting. A batter facing a former teammate pitching against him, and Santander, of course, doesn't have any at-bats against Kramer, but he's seen him pitch an awful lot. Dean Kramer throws a lot of cutters inside the left-handed hitters. Santander has to be aware of that.
2-0 breaking ball there. That's squib foul. 2-1.
Yeah, that was a curveball, man. He'll throw that curveball. He's 77 to 79. And he has a pretty even distribution of his pitches. He'll throw the 4-seam fastball, the cutter, the splitter, and the 2-seam are all about the same, but he'll use the fastball cutter more than the other 2 pitches.
Bichette at third, Guerrero at first. Nobody out here in the bottom of the first. Fastball up in the zone, fouled back, 2-2.
This is where Blue Jays really have to take advantage of this situation early in the game. They're already down by 2. They got a runner at third, runner at first, and nobody out. You've got to cash in at least one of these runs right here. John Snyder has been emphasizing these types of at-bats all spring long. Take advantage of what the other team gives you.
Back another fastball. What do you think Blue Jay fans who really haven't or don't remember specifics about Santander as a hitter, what are they going to learn about?
Well, they're going to learn that he's a much better hitter than the average he had last year at 235. But he has power.
Hooks this one to right field. That's a base hit. Bichette can jog home. It's an RBI single for Santander, and it's 2-1.
Okay, now the Blue Jays are right back in it. Still nobody out, and Bo comes in to score the first run of the game. Santander picks up the RBI. These guys had a good night last night, and they were certainly part of the reason the Blue Jays beat the Orioles last night. This is a splitter that kind of hangs up out over the plate, and look at that balanced swing. He stays on it and really extends through the zone and comes up with an RBI base hit. So that certainly swings the momentum back toward the Blue Jays.
Bichette got it started. Guerrero moved him around to third. Santander drove him in. And still nobody out as Andres Jimenez comes up. A long meeting on the mound. The catcher Gary Sanchez went out for a chat, and now Ramon Urias spending some time around the mound with Dean Kramer. As the Orioles use a mound visit here in the first inning just to slow things down a little bit. Jimenez hitting in the cleanup spot again, had a home run on opening day. 0-1. Not a power hitter, 9 home runs last year. Hit 17 in his best year, 2022. Known much more for his contact skills. Urias creeping in at third. And this one high in the air down the left field line. He's tagged it pretty well. And it's going to be caught deep in the corner. The throw behind Guerrero. He'll take third, and Santander into second.
What a heads-up piece of base running by both Vladdy and Santander. The Blue Jays have talked about base running all season long, all the way back into spring training. And Vladdy does a great job because he knows it's going to be a difficult catch down in the corner. Watch him react to this. Okay, now he sees cows are going to the corner. I'm going to tag up and watch where he throws the ball. If he throws it behind me, I'm going to third. And when he does that, they vacate second base so Santander can move into scoring position. Terrific.
And now Kirk lifts one to right center. Heston Kjerstad to make the catch. Here comes Guerrero. He'll come in to score. Santander takes 90 feet as well, and the Kirk sac fly has tied the game.
Well, we talked right out of the chute about Vladdy getting that hustle double in the game. When your best player runs like that, everybody else has to. And Kirky comes up with a big sac fly, taking advantage of that runner at third base. And the Blue Jays, just like that, tie it up.
3 singles, then a couple of fly balls. The second one, a sac fly to tie the game. Eventful first inning here at the Rogers Center. Here's Will Wagner getting a start at DH. Wagner in last night's game went 2 for 3, including a double. In his time in the big leagues, and granted it's brief, a few weeks last year and now 2 games this year against righties, hitting .358 with an .893 OPS. Swings through a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Kramer gets him, and the inning is over, but the Blue Jays get those 2 runs back, and it's all tied up.
I say both. I'm going to answer for every one of them.
Welcome back to Rogers Center. When Max Scherzer first came up to the big leagues, he had the D-backs Randy Johnson, Dan Herron, and Brandon Webb who mentored him. And then later in career, he had the Tigers' Justin Verlander. Now, in his 18th season, Scherzer has Bowden Francis and Alek Manoah looking to him and observing the way he goes about his business. But it's not about young guys asking questions or anything about grips or pitch mix. He said, watch me in the game. Then we can break down what's actually going on and we can really talk about how hitters are approaching me. Scherzer did just that with his former teammates and gained a wealth of information by watching all 30 of their starts. Scherzer has long been known as a fierce competitor, guys, but his impact as a mentor to young pitchers may be just as significant. Dan.
Hazel, thank you. Imagine you're Bowden Francis. And you got Scherzer, Bassett, Gausman, and Barrios as part of the rotation. First pitch here in the top of the second. Heston Kjerstad pops one up for Andres Jimenez.
Yeah, and I talked to Max about that too, about how do you handle young pitchers? He said, you know what, I have to be careful because I'm basically a senior and these younger guys are in kindergarten. He said, I got so many innings under my belt. I've had so many tough outings that I've learned from that. He said, I've learned more from my bad games than I have from my good games. But if I go over there and tell them all these things that I've learned over my 18 years, their mind might blow up. So I just very carefully say, watch what I do. Just watch what I do, and you try to figure out how that's going to work for you.
Gary Sanchez is now a Baltimore Oriole. A number of years with the Yankees, 4 teams in the last 3 years. And signed a 1-year, $8.5 million deal to be the backup catcher. The Orioles tend to DH Adley Rutschman a lot when he is not behind the plate. They went out and spent some pretty good money on a number 2 catcher. That's outside. It's 3-0.
And when Sanchez got to the Orioles, Brandon Hyde, the manager, told him, listen, I see you as a catcher. You know, you're going to be a catcher, and you have to really work with Rutschman and try to figure out this entire pitching staff very quickly. Sanchez is a 2-time All-Star, always known more for his power than his ability behind the plate as a catcher. He's had a strong arm throughout his career, but now he understands he is valued as Rutschman's backup more than anything else.
Down the middle, 3-2. You see the velocity of the Scherzer fastball has been around 92 today. What allowed him to be so successful in the spring, his command was elite in the spring. He was putting the ball with all of his pitches where he wanted to. A couple of mistakes over the middle of the plate in the first, both hit out of the ballpark. But it's more about command than power at this point of Scherzer's career. And that's strike 3 called up at the top of the zone. Got him with a cutter.
First strikeout, and before Scherzer went to the mound to start this top half of the second inning, he was in the dugout, and look at this. He picks up his glove and then just glances at the lineup sheet. Where am I in the lineup? Okay, I'll take care of the bottom of the order. 1, 2, 3.
Two down. Here's Jackson Holliday. So a 40-year-old pitching to a 21-year-old. One of the things that makes baseball great.
The beauty of baseball. And Jackson Holliday hit a home run in last night's game to deep center field, and he has had some success against the Blue Jays early in his career.
And doesn't get the call. 1 ball, 1 strike. See Kirk just a little turn. It must have said something very quickly to Ryan Addington about, did you have that ball high? Two and one.
One thing we've seen early in the season, and I know this is game 3, but the strike zone is consistently smaller all around baseball, and I think it has an impact of having that challenge system in spring training. I think the umpires got so used to hearing that calls being corrected, they've kind of tightened up the strike zone a lot.
So try to call it the way the technology sees the strike zone, not the way it's kind of always been called.
That's right. And I think it's going to take a while. Obviously, we're not using that challenge system in the regular season. I think it's going to take a while for the umpires to get back to their normal type of strike zone. 2 balls, 2 strikes, the count on Holliday.
Changeup misses outside, 3-2. If it gets any further, it'll be the number 9 hitter, Ramon Urias. Pulled down to first. Tricky bounce there. Guerrero's got it. Scherzer covering. And that's a 3-up, 3-down, top of the second. Still tied at 2.
Download the app for the latest odds on today's baseball games and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365.
Welcome back inside the Rogers Center. Kind of a gloomy weekend, but that's just the weather, not the vibe of the ballpark. Fans of all ages out here to see Max Scherzer's Blue Jay debut. Tied 2-2 going to the bottom of the second, and here's Davis Schneider leading it off. Getting his first start of the regular season. John Schneider's saying a couple of things. They wanted to get Davis Schneider in there for the first time. Don't want anybody sitting too long, as that fastball might have torn some of the strings off of Gary Sanchez's mitt. He's got to go get a new one.
Yeah, it broke his webbing.
Yeah.
And you catch it, and he does a good job of receiving, and then it pops right through the webbing, and leather laces between the pieces of that webbing, and catchers always bring backup gloves out to the field. Everybody does, actually. So you'll have your gamer, and you have another glove that you break in, and he'll get that one to the equipment man, and he'll try to do a quick repair job and get that gamer back into the game.
Just outside, and it's 2-0 on Schneider. Had a great spring. Felt much more like himself, like the Schneider of a couple of years ago. Hit for average, took a lot of walks. Pitches like that, right on the edge, before you get to 2 strikes, he's not going to swing as much. He wants to swing at the pitches that he can do damage with. That might have been one of them.
Yeah,
2-2.
That was one I'd be wanting to swing at. You can see he's got to shake his head as he let that one go. He's looking for pitches on the inner half. Now he's just got to protect the plate with 2 strikes. That's a good take right there. And when he first came up a couple of years ago from the minor leagues, he was very good at laying off that high pitch. And then last year he started chasing pitches, and basically he was chasing base hits.
The 3-2s popped up, and it'll be the second baseman, Westberg. Hey, between batters here, and you and I have been talking about this over the last hour or so, there's some crazy stuff going on in the Bronx right now. The Yankees have set a major league record already here today, and may threaten another. Nestor Cortez, former Yankee, current Brewer. He was in the trade for Devin Williams. Milwaukee's in New York. The Yankees homered off him on the first 3 pitches of the game. Ernie Clement skies one to right center for Mullins. Paul Goldschmidt, Cody Bellinger, and Aaron Judge. Homer, homer, homer on the first 3 pitches. Austin Wells hit another homer in the first. It's 18-6 for the Yankees in the seventh, and they've got 8 home runs. Now, they've been quiet for a couple of innings, but the all-time record for most home runs in a game by a single team is 10 by the 1987 Toronto Blue Jays. Beat the Orioles, coincidentally, 24-10. 8 home runs already for the Yankees today. How about Nestor Cortes, a Yankee the last few years, goes back to the Bronx, and 3 pitches in, he's given up 3 home runs.
Yeah, man, he was out of there after 2 innings, 8 runs on 6 hits, and 5 home runs surrendered.
Nathan Lucas getting a start for the second day in a row with a ground ball to short, and the Blue Jays go in order in the bottom of the second. The day they're pitching, you don't even say hi to them. Even Max Scherzer's teammates are getting used to his day of game routine, his intensity. I mean, on game day, it is Mad Max. He is locked in, and from the moment he shows up at the ballpark, look at him unhappy. That was looking up at the scoreboard after one of his warm-up pitches. Didn't like that. I mean, he oozes intensity. And again, the talent, obviously, over 18 years has been a big part of why he's going to wind up enshrined in Cooperstown. But it's just one of the ingredients. The intensity is right there with it.
Yeah, for a stretch of 7 seasons between 2013 and 2019, he won 3 Cy Young Awards and finished in the top 5 in each of those 7 years. He was 118 and 47 for 7 years. His last 2 years in Detroit and his first 5 years in Washington. I mean, he was as dominant as anybody, and that included a 20 strikeout game as well.
Number 9 hitter is Ramon Urias, the third baseman today for the Orioles. Hit .254, 11 home runs last year. Won a Gold Glove 3 years ago at third base. More of a backup utility guy now as the Westbergs and the Holidays and this group has all graduated to the majors.
Urias is really interesting. He signed originally as a 16-year-old with the Texas Rangers and played 2 seasons in the Dominican Summer League. Then he was released and he went back to Mexico City and played for the Mexico City Red Devils in their Summer League. And then he got signed by St. Louis and ends up here in Baltimore. So he's had quite a path to the big leagues.
Scherzer waiting for the pitch that he wanted from Kirk, now ready to go. What about the relationship of a new catcher? And Alejandro's been around a few years now, but what are his responsibilities through the spring and into the season getting to know Max Scherzer?
Just to understand what he wants to do on different situations, where he is in the lineup, how aggressive he will be. Foul tip. There are different situations, of course, in a ball game, and obviously when Scherzer pitches to the bottom of the order like so many great pitchers, you know, he doesn't want to waste many pitches. He wants to save his pitch count for the tougher hitters in the lineup. So he's going to be more aggressive when he gets down in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th spots.
Fly ball center. Playable for Lucas. 1 down.
I always found it to be a challenge when you catch a great pitcher, and I had the advantage of catching guys like Dave Stieb, and I got Steve Busby, I got Paul Splittoff, Dennis Leonard, Mike Caldwell, all those great 20-game winners, and you raise your game to their level as well as a catcher. You don't want to make any mistakes because you want to be as prepared as your pitcher. So you have to make sure you sit and talk to him a lot, and this goes all the way back to spring training. But you want to make sure that you're not putting him in a tough spot. The last thing you want to do is to offer pitches that aren't the right pitches. You want to offer a pitch that he's thinking about to validate his thoughts.
Colton Cowser led off the ball game with a home run. Swings through a curveball here, and it's 0-2.
Max told me too. He said, you know, you can prepare all you want to and have all the information and all the scouting reports, and if they do something different against you in the first or second at bat, you got to make adjustments on the mound. You just can't keep banging your head against them and say, well, the scouting report tells me I can do this. You got to be flexible. Good pitch. Just sequence of pitching right there. After that slow curveball in the 70s, he comes back and runs that fastball inside.
You know, the Blue Jays were down in Arlington in September of last year, and you and I were hanging around the Texas dugout on the first base side of the field, and Max Scherzer was coming off the field. He was running, I think, and he just kind of stopped by as he was heading down into the dugout, and we had, I don't know if it was 15, 20, 25 minutes, just a long, he loves to talk baseball, and he can talk about it from 100 different angles. And then you and I get to Dunedin this year and said, whoever could have guessed, because part of the conversation was, hey, do you think you'll pitch again? How are you feeling this year? You had a lot of injuries. You were only able to make 9 starts. And at that point, he was like, yeah, I'll see how I feel. He's got 4 kids, 7 and under, but I'd like to, but I'll see how whoever, you and I never could have guessed that we'd be sitting here calling one of his games a few months later.
Yeah, and it was amazing that he got himself ready for the postseason.
Popped up. Clement down the line and makes the catch. Good play by Ernie. 2 down. First ballot Hall of Famer, you know all of that. Also the winningest pitcher in the 2010s. Look at that list. By the way, Dave Steeves, second in the 80s behind Jack Morris.
Yeah, Maddox, Pettit, and Scherzer dominated their respective decades, and you know, and Jack Morris, Greg Maddox, and what these guys all have in common is they were tremendous competitors and they were tremendous athletes. And like Max said earlier this spring, he said, you know, I understand how to hit. I had to hit in the National League, so I understand how to hit. So that helps me understand how you get good hitters out.
Adley Rutschman, the batter. Jammed him with a cutter that's pulled foul.
Hey, Julio Mateo played at shortstop yesterday. Didn't expect to get a hot shot like that in the dugout.
Right on the corner with a changeup, 1-2.
Now you got to show Rutschman different looks, and we talked about how Adley hits Barrios so well. Well, a lot of the pitches that he hit against Barrios were up. A lot of the pitches are up. I think you have a better chance of trying to attack him down in the zone and get him to think down, and then maybe elevate occasionally.
Tried another change, misses low, 2-2. In the air, right center. And Nathan Lucas, another play. It's 7 in a row now set down by Max Scherzer. Rogers Center's newest club is now open. Heinz Club 328 is located down the right field line on field level, right in the action. To learn more, visit bluejays.com/club 328. You checked it out a few days ago.
It's outstanding. It is a beautiful location. They did a great job. Back in the back, you can see that wall of all baseball cards from all the Blue Jays team going back to 1977. It's a terrific area, great place to watch a game in a totally different perspective than anything else that you can see here at Rogers Center.
Bottom three here this afternoon. Dan Schulman, Buck Martinez, Hazel May tied at 2. And a 2-0 count on Bo Bichette, who got things rolling in the bottom of the first for the Blue Jays. Bichette singled. Guerrero moved him around to third on a base hit. Santander brought Bichette in on a base hit. And a couple of batters later, Alejandro Kirk with a sac fly to tie it up. And a good take there on a cutter just outside. It's now 3-0. Bo's not the kind of guy you can say, it's 3-0, he's not swinging, I'll just groove one in there.
No. To me, it looks like Scherzer might be done. He's kind of taking his game face off. When he's competing, he doesn't stay in the dugout. Pete Walker's on the phone, and Scherzer wandering around, and he's frustrated.
Does that mean it's the thumb?
Flared up on him.
We don't know. He's thrown 45 pitches. He threw 47, or he threw, 62 down in Fort Myers 7 days ago. So again, impossible to know for sure, but as the thumb flared up on him, and there is activity in the bullpen. So not what Scherzer and the Blue Jays were hoping for here. Richard Lovelady is up. Because when the thumb was a problem in the spring, it seemed to be more day after he pitched, not actually during the game as much, although he did talk about there was some discomfort, but it seemed to be worse the day after the start. But it may be an issue here today.
Obviously something's wrong. He's coming out of the game awfully early as Vladdy strikes out.
This is Max Scherzer after the top half of the third, talking to Pete Walker. And shortly thereafter, the phone call was made down to the bullpen. If we get any word, we will let you know. But again, obviously not what Scherzer and the Blue Jays were hoping for.
Not at all. And you can see when he's out there, he can compete at all his pitches and everything else, but something has pushed him to come out of this ball game.
Anthony Santander, the batter. Bichette at first, one down after the Guerrero strikeout. Swung on and missed, 1-2. Now the conversation with Chris Bassett, his teammate with the Mets. These two know each other well, good friends even before Scherzer got here. Well, it is sure to be the first question John Schneider is asked after the game.
In spring training, he was scratched from one start, but then after a day off, he came back and threw an extended bullpen session and threw the ball very well. And he threw a lot all spring long, and just trying to get to a point where, that thumb might not be an issue, but obviously we don't know for sure what it is, but something has knocked him out of this game.
Let's go down to Hazel.
Dan, watching him here from my vantage point, he is extremely frustrated. As you guys see there on your monitors, he was walking up and down the dugout, shaking his head. And you guys mentioned that he was at about the 45 pitch mark. At spring training, I asked Scherzer, where does that discomfort come in? And he says usually that thumb kind of flares up in and around the 50 pitch mark. So 45 pitches, that seems to be kind of around that pitch mark where things kind of start going a little wonky with that thumb. So Max Scherzer, it looks like, as you guys mentioned, already out of this ballgame.
Hazel, thank you. And for those who may not be aware, this is something that Scherzer dealt with last year with Texas. Here's a ball well hit off the bat of Jimenez. A long way to right center, and it's gone. How about Andres Jimenez with his second home run of the young season already?
Well, what a good swing that was. The ball was up in the zone, and Jimenez, he talked about how he got away from just hitting good pitches. He was really kind of expanding his zone a little bit too much the last couple of seasons, and boy, wouldn't that be a welcome sight to have Jimenez be productive. I mean, he doesn't have to hit 30 home runs, but if he can drive in runs, that's going to be a big boost from what the Blue Jays got a year ago out of the second base position.
Alejandro Kirk has popped it up near the mound. It'll be the third baseman Arias to make the catch. That's the inning. But cleanup hitter Andres Jimenez with his second home run of the season, and at the end of 3 for 2 Blue Jays. With a home run to right center. He's got 2 in the first 3 games of the season and has given the Blue Jays a 4-2 lead in a game in which they trailed 2-0 early.
That was a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, top of the zone. His previous home run was a curveball that he hit into the seats in right, and he jumps on top of this one. Bo Bichette had started the inning with a leadoff walk. He was stranded there with 2 outs until Jimenez connected. You know, John doesn't have a real bona fide cleanup hitter, if you will, but he's been productive so far this season in that spot.
So Max Scherzer officially out of the game. 3 innings, a couple of runs, and again, we don't know if it is connected to the thumb issue. We will find out after the game. Retired the last 7 batters he faced, but is not back out for the 4th inning. We started to talk about, just for people who may not have been tuned into the spring training games, an issue that Springer dealt with last year, a nerve issue that runs from his thumb. And he has shown to me and others up through his arm, through his triceps, and he says, you know, if you've got any kind of an issue in one area, it can impact your entire arm. And it was an issue for him at times, a major issue with him at times last year. Hopefully it is not serious, and again, maybe it's something else entirely. We'll find out after the game. But for now, Scherzer is out, and Richard Lovelady is into the game here in the 4th inning. Ryan O'Hearn leading it off for the Orioles. And that is squibbed the other way, and it's a fair ball. Clement's got a race after it. O'Hearn is on his way to second. It's picked up by Schneider, but he just kind of pool cued that one into a perfect spot, and he gets himself a double.
Yeah, he just really got jammed, and they were playing him to pull the ball. Ernie Clement's the closest to it, and you can see how jammed he got. It was down around the label. He's not sure if it's going to be fair or foul, but look where Bo is, and Ernie's even farther in the hole, and he's got a long run, and the only guy can get it is the left fielder once it caroms off that padding down the left field line in foul ground.
Now Jordan Westburg, who homered in the first. 94 on the corner from Lovelady. Westburg at second base again today, expected to move back to third. When Gunnar Henderson gets healthy, Jackson Holliday will shift from short to second.
Gunnar Henderson played in the game in AAA last night, led off 1 for 3 in that game, and then they took him out of the game after his 3 at-bats. But they expect him to be back in 6 days. Just the number of days on the injured list.
Lovelady earning the second left-handed reliever spot in the bullpen. He has previous major league time with the Royals, the A's, the Cubs, and last year, well, the Cubs and the Rays. Signed as a free agent with the Blue Jays in the offseason. And it may be as good a time as any to give you what update we can on Brendan Little, the #1 lefty in the bullpen. He came out of last night's game with what was later described as a lat cramp. Talked to him about it today. It is not expected to be serious. John Schneider was even hopeful that Little might be available today. He was scheduled to throw like 5 to 10 pitches in the bullpen, and if he felt good, maybe he would be back in there. People who were watching the game last night saw that Little, after the concern, Jose Menestral, John Schneider came out. Little threw a couple of warm-up pitches, and they just sailed on him. And he told me what he said to Schneider. He said, "I feel okay." There's a swing and a miss to get Westburg. He said, like, it doesn't hurt too much. I just can't control the ball right now, which is obviously a major concern. So they erred on the side of caution. And we don't know if he's available today, but hopefully in the big picture, Buck, it is minor for a guy who's turned into a very important part of the bullpen.
He's without question #1 left-hander in that bullpen, and that is the best news they could have hoped for after he left that game yesterday. And it will hit him inside fastball. Mullins will take first base, hit by the pitch.
Lovelady hit a batter on Thursday, too, on opening day.
This fastball just runs away and catches Mullins on the back of the hand. Well, so often those hitters will just expose their hands to those inside pitches, and you know, we have seen over the years many injuries suffered with that inside pitch when they get their hands out there in harm's way.
So the Orioles threatening, first and second, 1 out. Here's Heston Kjerstad. And that's called high, ball 1. Kjerstad, the second overall pick in 2020, but has yet to really be able to break through with the major league level. Part of it is just opportunity. They've got so many good players, so many capable position players right now. And there's some thought that as some guys get healthy, he might not even be here. There are some people saying, give him 500 at bats, figure it out. But another school of thought is, well, he might have to go back down to AAA and earn his way back, or wait for something to happen. They've got a good problem in that they've got a lot of really capable offensive players. And that hit him. And Lovelady has hit 2 in a row.
Well, that hit him in the ribs, and that's going to leave a mark for sure. And Pete Walker's asking John Schneider about the next option down in that bullpen, and Pete's going to come out and try to calm Lovelady down a bit. This ball gets away from him, catches him right in the rib cage in his back. That hits you in a tough spot. You know, when that ball's behind you as a hitter, your natural first move is away from home plate, and he basically just moved right into that pitch. Couldn't get out of the way of it.
You know, this was an issue in spring training as well for Lovelady. He didn't have great results in the spring. In 8 1/3, Buck, he hit 3 batters down in Florida, and he's hit 3 in 2 appearances here in the regular season.
Yeah, and obviously after that leadoff bloop double down the left field line, then it gets a strikeout, and now you just really kind of put yourself in a tough spot. Bases loaded for a very powerful Gary Sanchez.
Sanchez struck out against Scherzer back in the second. Great double play candidate if you can get him to hit it on the ground, but still big strong guy. If he gets it in the air, he can hit it a long way. High fly to right, playable for Santander. Coming in, makes the catch. The throw to the plate coming through, but it's offline. A run will score as O'Hearn comes in, and Mullins took third on the play as well.
Now Sanchez hit it deep enough into the outfield to cash in that runner from third. O'Hearn had that jam shot double down the left field line. He comes in, and the Orioles now trail by a single run. Santander had a lot of momentum going into that throw, but it was just too deep to throw out the runner at the plate.
So a one-run game, runners on the corners, 2 down, and here's Jackson Holliday, grounded out his first time up. And a sweeping breaking ball misses down and away for ball 1. And you know that John Schneider and Pete Walker have already talked about, well, here are the guys we have, and here's how many outs there are. The bullpen's going to have to do a lot of work here today. We don't know if Little is available.
And Rodriguez threw 36 pitches on Thursday in just 1 inning.
And Nick Sandilands pitched 2 days in a row. So there are definitely guy or guys who are down for the Blue Jays today.
And they're going to get somebody else throwing right now. That's Sandlin, who did a good job coming in after Little left with that injury in last night's game.
And that's ball 4. Holliday takes a walk, and that's going to load him up. Jacob Barnes is the first guy up, or the next guy up. He threw 24 pitches on Thursday, didn't pitch last night. They've got a totally rested Jeff Hoffman and a very rested Chad Green. But they're definitely short. We don't know exactly by how many guys, but they're definitely not at full availability. Few teams ever are, but probably a couple of guys down. Out of play, right side.
Brian, that's one thing that's the beauty of having your AAA team just 90 miles away down in Buffalo. If you do need somebody to come up and fill in early in the season, you just make a phone call to Buffalo and get those guys up here in a hurry. And they have some options in AAA.
Oh, 2 line to right. Back goes Santander, and it's over his head. 1 run is home, a 2nd run is home, and here comes the 3rd. A bases clearing double for Urias, and the Orioles lead 6-4.
Urias hit that ball on the line over Santander's head and up against the wall. This pitch is up and out over the plate, and he stays with it and drives it over the right fielder's head. And with 2 outs, everybody's off on contact. It bounces back over Santander's head, and all 3 runs are going to come in to score.
Top of the order, Colton Cowser. And inside at the belt for ball 1. Well, the 2 hit batters and the walk definitely goes without saying complicating the issue. That double drove in 3. All 3 of the guys who scored got on either by a hit by pitch or a walk. One and 2. Chase and strikes him out, but the Orioles score 4 runs in the inning and have reclaimed the lead. Here's a new giveaway you don't want to miss. It's the City Connect Bomber Jacket presented by Enercare. Be one of the first 15,000 fans on Friday, April the 18th, and upgrade your City Connect wardrobe. Head to BlueJays.com/promotions to get your tickets today. So back and forth they go. Baltimore's on top right now, 6-4 going to the bottom of the fourth. As Will Wagner leads it off. Wagner struck out in his first at bat. This is popped up back of third. Urias and Holiday. It'll be Urias actually back in fair territory, making a fairly difficult catch for out number one. Dean Kramer, the starter for the Orioles today, touched up for a couple in the first, two more in the third on the home run by Andres Jimenez. Here's Davis Schneider, who popped up to second his first time up. Schneider will get some playing time against righties. Obviously figures to play heavily against lefties, come off the bench and pinch hit when a lefty reliever comes into the game. Went around, and it's 0-2.
Yeah, Davis made more starts in left field than anybody on the Blue Jays last year. He started 73 games in left field. This is his first start of the season out in left.
Swing and a miss at 95, 2 down.
Step up to the plate and take on any DIY project. At Home Hardware Building Centers, we have everything to build anything. Here's how.
There are a few Buck Martinez's down there. There's a Shannon Stewart and Ed Sprague. Well, that's a good place to just wander around and look for guys.
It's really an interesting wall down there in that 328 club. And they've done a nice job in that part of the ballpark.
Ernie Clement pops it out of play. 0-2 on Clement, who flied out to center in his first at bat. Good year for Ernie last year. Got a lot of playing time, hit a dozen homers, stole a dozen bases, Gold Glove finalist at third. And he'll share the job to a certain extent. Who knows exactly how, but Will Wagner will get some time at third. He'll get some time at first. He'll DH some. But Ernie's still going to be a big part of this team.
Yeah, they had a big hit last night, a pinch hit double that drove in 2 runs to give the Blue Jays that 8-run lead, and they put it away after that.
Chases, and Kramer has a good inning, a pop up and a couple of strikeouts. 6-4 Orioles at the end of 4. The Leafs are out on the West Coast tonight. They are in LA to take on the Kings. Catch Hockey Night in Canada tonight at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific on Sportsnet and CBC. Back here at the Rogers Center, 6-4 for the Orioles over the Blue Jays going to the top of the 5th inning. And John Schneider's made the call to the bullpen again. Not that young fan oblivious to all the stuff going on here so far today at the ballpark. On the field, there's been a lot going on. Here is Jacob Barnes coming in, about ready to make his second appearance of the season.
Yeah, Barnes pitched in the game on Thursday, the opener. Came in and got the final out of the 6th inning, but then was charged with some runs after he left the game.
Adley Rutschman, first pitch swinging to the opposite field and off the wall. Schneider's throw back into second makes it close, but it's a double for Rutschman.
Well, Adley Rutschman has been a thorn in the Blue Jays' side, and he didn't waste any time going after that first pitch from Jacob Barnes. Rutschman, a 300 hitter in this ballpark coming into this game, hitting .306 with some big damage. He got 7 career home runs in this ballpark in just 25 games coming into this game today.
So a runner in scoring position, nobody out. Here's Ryan O'Hearn. And O'Hearn is now credited as being 2 for 2. Remember the play in the first inning when he made that little turn to second after crossing the bag? Originally, it was just a putout, 3-1, 2-1, but eventually changed to an infield hit and then 2-1 on the putout. So give him a single then. He had a double in the third. Gary Sanchez, the catcher today, going over the scouting report for the next inning. Chopped foul, still 0-2. Barnes, the Blue Jay, the second time around, 10 appearances with the Jays in 2021. He has pitched for 9 different teams, was a Washington National for all of last season. The Nats in next, by the way. They start a 3-game series on Monday.
Yeah, he's made a couple additions to his pitch arsenal. He's added a splitter, and he's throwing a slider right now, and he brought him along in spring training, and he thinks it'll give him another look for the hitters. He's always been a fastball cutter guy, and now the splitter and slider can work down in the zone.
Did he go around on the appeal? He did. Kirk will throw it down to Guerrero to get the out, and holding at second is Rutschman.
That looked like a slider that was bounced in the dirt, and for guys that have faced Barnes in the past, that'll be a new look from him, and it was a good pitch. You can see how he gets on top of it and gets good depth, and O'Hearn just couldn't check his swing.
Hopefully Jacob Barnes can give the Blue Jays some length here today. They're going to need it the way things have gone, and again with quite possibly a couple of guys down in the bullpen today. Jordan Westburg, the batter, and it's something he has done. Last year he had 9 appearances of at least 2 innings, and they'd love to get a couple out of him today.
Yeah, they don't have an off day until Thursday when they head to New York to take on the Mets on their opener on Friday. So they have that 3-game series coming up with the Nationals. They won't have an off day until Thursday. Good pitch right there, 94 up.
0-2.
Well, Barnes understands his role in this game right now. Blue Jays are just down by 2. He's got to get some outs and get some quick outs so he can pitch at least 2 innings, maybe even a little bit more than that if he's efficient.
Another fastball up, and it's fouled back. Of course, the Blue Jays are down a couple of guys in the bullpen by injury. Eric Swanson and Ryan Burr are both on the IL. Zach Pop was on the IL but was DFA'd on opening day as the Blue Jays had to make room for 3 non-roster players. Back to the fastball again, this time 95. Down and away with a breaking ball, ball one. That Yankee game went final 20-9. The Yankees won. This one is grounded up the middle. Jimenez has it. Throw to first, not in time. And that'll be an infield hit for Westburg. Rutschman to third.
Well, and one thing for sure is Jimenez saved a run right there. That ball gets through to center field. That runner's going to score. And he didn't have much of a chance to throw him out. He was way on the shortstop side of second. But look at the range here for Jimenez. He gloves it, throws on the run, and just no time to get the batter runner. As Westburg reaches on an infield hit, Vladdy comes off the base and checks Rutschman over at third to make sure he's not breaking for home.
First and third, one out for Cedric Mullins. Left-handed batter with very good speed, so an extremely tough guy to double up. Mentioned that Yankee game went final 20-9. The Yankees hit 9 home runs in the game, so the Major League record held by the Blue Jays is still intact. 10 home runs hit in a game against Baltimore back in 1987.
September 14th at Exhibition Stadium. They put on quite a show.
Ernie Witt hit 3. Rance Mulliniks hit 2. George Bell hit 2. Lloyd Mosby, Rob Ducey, Fred McGriff also hit home runs. So that was your first year after your playing days, correct? 87. Yep. Yeah. So where were you?
I
in Toronto? Were you there?
No, I wasn't. I didn't do that game. We didn't do many games back then.
Yeah.
I just started my career with TSN.
Liner into right center. That's a base hit. Rutschman is in to score. Around to third comes Westburg. It is 7-4.
Cedric Mullins didn't have much of a spring training at all. He didn't get many hits in spring training, but he certainly saved him up for this series. That's a slider that stays out over the plate, trying to get it down and in. He left it out over the plate, and Mullins was able to get to it. So Rutschman with the leadoff double, he comes in to score. Westburg goes first to third, and Orioles still threatening with just one out.
Heston Kjerstad, the batter, popped up and hit by a pitch. And the Orioles can do some things here on that play, on that pitch. Mullins bluffed to start to second, put the brakes on. That got the attention of Alejandro Kirk.
Mullins had 32 steals in 38 attempts last year, and he really created some movement on the infield when he broke for second.
There he goes. Pitch taken. They're going to throw through the tag, and safe is the call. Mullins in just ahead of the tag from Bichette.
Yeah, and Mullins was thrown out by Kirk in the second inning of the opener on Thursday. He makes another real good throw. Cedric Mullins got a good jump, but watch the throw right here, how it's right on the money. And Bo slops the tag, but it's just a tad late at second. Another strong throw by Alejandro Kirk.
Second and third, and now the infield in for the Blue Jays with the count 2-0 on Kjerstad. And a strike, 2-1. Well, again, hoping to get as many outs as they can out of Barnes, but about to throw his 20th pitch here this inning already, and just one out. In the air to left center, playable. Lucas the catch, but this is going to score another run. The sac fly from Kjerstad will bring in Westburg and make it 8-4.
In those situations, it's so much easier hitting when you have a runner at third base. All you think about is getting the ball in the air, hit it deep enough to the outfield, and you pick up an RBI, and they tack on another run. They got 4 in the 4th, 2 more here in the 5th.
So 2 down, runner at second, and now Gary Sanchez, who has struck out, and he's had a sacrifice fly. Ground ball to short. Bichette up with it and throws him out. 2 more, though, for the Orioles. They now lead 8-4. Let's get an update with Jamie Campbell. Presented by Schneider's is coming your way Tuesday. Don't miss $1 hot dogs all night long. Visit BlueJays.com/promotions to grab your tickets today. Guessing those 2 will be in the ballpark on Tuesday night.
I would imagine. They were here opening day with their uniforms on, so they'll be here for sure.
I don't know if that's a uniform. That feels more like a costume.
A costume. Yeah. Good point. Well, for them, it's their uniform.
Yeah.
But it is a costume for sure.
8-4 Baltimore going to the bottom of the 5th. And if the Blue Jays are going to find a way to win this one, they're going to have to keep swinging it. They got 2 in the 1st. RBIs for Santander and Kirk. A 2-run homer for Jimenez in the 3rd. Nathan Lucas will lead it off here. And take a curveball low for ball 1 from Dean Kramer. Lucas, then the top of the order, Bichette and Guerrero. Same pitch, swing and a miss, 1-1.
Kramer's done a good job of incorporating all his pitches into the mix. He's gotten that curveball over in good spots. He's thrown the cutter and the good fastball. He's got a little better velocity than you might expect. He's been up to 95 early in this game.
Yeah, averaged 93.4 a year ago. He's definitely throwing harder than that today. Tried a backdoor cutter, just missed. And Lucas aboard with a leadoff walk. Let's check in with Hazel.
Dan and Buck just got an update on why Max Scherzer left the ball game. The Blue Jays tell me that he left and was removed from today's game with right lat soreness. So not exactly a thumb injury. However, Dan, if you remember when we spoke to Scherzer earlier this week, he said that region affects the whole arm, not just your forearm, but all the way to your triceps, into your shoulder, and into your lat. So Scherzer out after after 3 innings and 45 pitches with what the Blue Jays tell me is right lat soreness.
All right,
guys.
Hazel, thank you for that. And again, as Hazel says, we spoke with Max a couple of days ago, and the nerve issue in the thumb, and he kind of traced a line up his arm for us. It affects you here and here, and again, we don't know whether the thumb is the cause of the right lat soreness. Maybe more information on that coming after the game, but that's the official word on why Scherzer had to lead today. Hopefully nothing serious.
Well, you know, the reality is that Max is 40 years old. A lot of innings on his body, and you know, he's puts in all the work. First 5 days he came to spring training, he had 3 bullpen sessions and looked great. A lot of innings on his arm for sure. And you know, we're always worried about elbows and shoulders and everything else. Well, anything in a pitcher's body can affect you. You know, you get a line drive off the foot and you make adjustments because of that. I mean, Dizzy Dean many years ago in an All-Star game got hit in the foot in the All-Star game, continued to pitch, hurt his arm, and he was never the same. And he was one of the greatest pitchers of his time.
Activity in the Orioles pen. Left-hander Keegan Aikens getting up. Three and two, the count on to Bichette. Lucas not going, and Bichette bounces one through the left side for a base hit. And Bo's now been on a base all 3 times. A couple of singles and a walk.
Yeah, and you know what? We talk about who's going to hit leadoff. Well, I like Bo in the top of the order. He gets on base a lot and gets a lot of hits. He's walked here. He's got 2 hits, and it's a tough pitch. And the one thing about Bo Bichette is he's a difficult batter to defend. He hits the ball literally from foul line to foul line. And he can hit a rocket down the right field line, or he can hit a rocket down the left field line, and there's just no way to play him. And one thing about Bo, he's the best hitter on their team, no question about it. And he can hit good pitching, and he can keep rallies going for sure.
Pitching coach Drew French is on the mound for a meeting with Kramer and the infield. The Blue Jays trying to get something going here in the bottom of the 5th. First 2 have reached. And they're in a good part of the order. Bichette aboard, and that means Kramer's got to face Guerrero. Vladdy with a base hit and a strikeout so far today. Brandon Hyde in his 7th season as manager of the Orioles, the American League Manager of the Year 2 years ago when Baltimore won 101 games. A strike on the corner, 0-1. That one will bounce off of Sanchez to the backstop, and the wild pitch allows both runners to advance.
Well, the Blue Jays don't need to get them all back at one time, and this is a perfect example of it. You got 2nd and 3rd. This is a splitter, and Sanchez down on one knee just had to go right past his body. He never got his chest protector over in front of that ball. That's a very easy block for a catcher. You know where it's going to go. It's not going to spin and give you a tricky hop. It's just going to be in the dirt.
Infield back. The Orioles will concede a run to get it out. And that's what's going to happen here. Ground ball to short. Guerrero retired. Give him an RBI as Lucas comes in. It's 8-5.
And credit Nathan Lucas getting on base from the 9th spot. He's cashed in by Guerrero. Makes a strong throw, and it's the 5th inning. The Blue Jays have plenty of chances to get back in this game.
Nobody is up in the Blue Jay pen. Jacob Barnes will come out to begin the top of the 6th. Bichette at 2nd and 1 down. Here's Santander. Had an RBI single in the 1st, struck out in the 3rd. 2. Boy, that was a splitter that didn't dive below the zone. It landed in the zone. Almost worked like a BP fastball.
Yeah, man, that could be effective as well. And I think that's what Kevin Gausman did a lot in his game last night. The splitter was very effective.
And then 95 looks like that and then some as he strikes him out, 2 down.
Santander struck out back in the 3rd inning on a Kramer curveball. This time he puts it in a good spot. Up and in, kind of ties him up, and you can see how he rides this fastball upstairs, and Santander just couldn't catch up. I think Kramer's got a little bit more velocity than the Blue Jays anticipated here today.
So here's Andres Jimenez, another home run, his 2nd of the season. Last year with Cleveland, he hit his 2nd home run of the season on May the 12th in his 30th game. He's done it in his 3rd game this year. Swung the bat well in the spring, showed some power. 2 doubles, 2 triples, 2 homers in the spring.
I think the entire offensive roster of the Blue Jays has really grabbed hold of the approach of the new hitting coach. As you see George Springer getting loose.
That could be if Keegan Aiken comes in, maybe in the Will Wagner spot.
When you talk about the new hitting coaches, David Popkins and Lou Arenado, what they have done is they have given the hitters the right to clear their minds before they go to the plate. Say, here's all the information you need about the pitchers. Now, whatever you need, you take it with you, but concentrate once you get into that batter's box of just thinking about that pitch and what you want to hit.
There's Popkins. Bouncer to first, and an easy play for O'Hearn to end the inning. The Blue Jays get 1 and now trail 8-5 at the end of 5. And part of an extremely young, talented position player core the Orioles have. Samuel Basallo is a catcher. He's only 20, but man, they rave about him, and on every list you can find, he is right near the top. This group is not going away anytime soon.
Now, you look at it, and Natalie Richmond is the senior member of this young core, and Basallo right now is in AAA, but he's the DH early part of the season because he's got a little bit of an arm issue. But Jackson Holliday, we saw him a couple years ago, and he had a couple of big swings against the Blue Jays in spring training, including a grand slam against Yusei Kikuchi. And I asked Jackson about the adjustments he's made recently. There's been a lot of talk about how he's eliminated his leg kick and he uses a toe tap. I asked him about that. He says, yeah, he said, I watched Bo when I was in high school. And I thought I liked the way he hit, especially with 2 strikes. And what it does for me is it gives me the opportunity to catch up on pitches because my timing is more consistent without that exaggerated leg kick.
The game plan coming into the spring that both Holliday and the Orioles talked about was more contact, more line drives. Don't worry so much about hitting home runs. Line drives, use the whole field, cut down on the swing and miss, get on base as much as he can. He runs well too. He's a threat to steal when he's on there. He's got great sprint speed, and maybe that hasn't manifested itself yet in the great major league instincts to steal bases, but that'll probably come. I don't think anybody was too worried when he struggled last year, got sent back down. I mean, this this young man's going to be a terrific player.
Yeah, and he's a classy young man as well, like so many of the Orioles, and they're all good kids that grew up together. They take a lot of pride in playing it the right way, and their best player isn't even here now, Gunnar Henderson. So it'll be interesting when they get everybody together, but they've got a young core that is really tight, really close.
He is expected to be back soon, and in all likelihood before the Blue Jays get to Camden Yards in a couple of weeks. The 1-2 from Jacob Barnes. Big cut and a foul back.
Yeah, and just think about it. Bo's 27 and Jackson Hadley's 21, and Jackson was in high school watching Bo play in the big leagues and said, I really liked the way Bo swung the bat. I watched him when he hit with 2 strikes, and that gave me an opportunity to bring that into my batting style. He said, I used the toe tap in high school a little bit, got away from it. Maybe I was thinking too much about power. And you can see they're both having a little conversation out at second base.
Strike 3 called, as Barnes may have gotten the benefit of the doubt there as he gets Holiday.
We mentioned the fact that Blue Jays are a little thin in innings down in the bullpen, so they'd love to get a complete inning from Jacob Barnes here and at least get through the 6. That looked like a backdoor slider. Just barely caught the strike zone.
And now a liner into left, a base hit for Ramon Urias, his second hit of the afternoon.
He had the big swing of the bat back in the 4th inning when he hit a bases loaded double over the head of the right fielder as Chad Green is standing by ready down in the bullpen. Looks like they're going to go to Green right here.
John Schneider on his way to the mound. Barnes up around 30 pitches. Gave up a couple of runs in the 5th. Urias is his responsibility, and it will indeed be Chad Green coming in. The Stanley Cup playoffs begin April 19th. Watch every game right here on Sportsnet. Pretty good time of year if you're a sports fan. Baseball's underway. Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs are coming right in the thick of March Madness right now. Here is Chad Green making his second appearance of the season.
Yeah, Green, now 33 years old, has had a terrific run here with the Blue Jays. Last year he started the tenure as the closer, 16 for 16 in his first 16 save opportunities.
Colton Cowser, the first batter he will face. Cowser is 1 for 3, led off the ball game with a home run back in the first. High with a slider, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Green's basically a 2-pitch reliever, which is not that unusual. He throws a good fastball and a very good slider. He tinkered around a little bit with a two-seamer in the spring, but he's not going to use it in pivotal situations, not very often. He gave up a home run to Cedric Mullins in the 7th inning, the first batter he faced coming into the game.
There's the slider again and just catches the top end of the zone. 2-2.
Now, he also came in relief of Jacob Barnes on Thursday afternoon.
Swing and a miss. Got him to go after a high fastball. 2 down.
Depend guards won't make you a grill master, but they'll show leaks who's boss. Keep it dry, guys.
Two down. Here's Adley Rutschman as we welcome you back inside Rogers Center. Dan Schulman, Buck Martinez, Hazel May, and a nice play by Vladdy. Leaping Guerrero to get the out of the bag on Rutschman as Green gets a couple of outs here in the 6th. One more look going to break. High chopper. The hops for Guerrero at out number 3. Big day tomorrow. It's Junior Jay's opening day. Celebrate the first Sunday of the season with activities, games, and exclusive prizes. And then stick around post-game. Kids 14 and under can run the bases just like their favorite Blue Jay players. Visit bluejays.com/promotions to grab your tickets today. Bottom 16, Kramer's still out there. 8-5 Orioles. Alejandro Kirk had a sac fly in the first and popped out in the third. After Kirk, Will Wagner, Davis Schneider, Keegan Aiken, the lefty, up again in the Orioles pen. So Brandon Hyde may be on the verge of a move, and George Springer may be the counter move. Kirk discussed the strike zone briefly with Ryan Addington and then used his timeout. Tried the split, missed down and away. Boy, he does have a good fastball today.
Yeah, this is as hard as I've seen him throw his fastball, and several times we've seen him pitch, and he set it up very well. He's throwing the cutter, and it gets everybody thinking about possible splitter, and then he runs that fastball upstairs.
Grounded out to second. To his left is Westberg to make the play. comes Brandon Hyde. So the move is coming. He'll go to the lefty. And it looks like that's going to get Will Wagner out of the game with George Springer set to pinch hit. Kramer gave up some runs but had some offense behind him. And will lead with the Orioles leading by 3. We shall see what the move is or isn't. Kramer winds up going 5 1/3 today. 5 runs, all earned, walked 2, struck out 6. Had a very good velocity today. Gave up the home run to Andres Jimenez. And Brandon Hyde has turned it over to a left-hander, Keegan Aiken, making his second appearance in the series.
Now, Aiken came in to pitch the 8th inning and walked the first batter. He faced Alan Roden, but then got Bo Bichette to ground into double play. Another walk to Guerrero, and then he got Anthony Santander to pop up in foul territory. That ended his only inning of work so far this season.
And Will Wagner is still in the game. So either George Springer was being used as a decoy, or maybe they would have brought Springer up had Kirk gotten on base. One of the two. Either one could be very possible. Springer getting a day off today, but John Schneider said he is in play. They will use him at some point. There will be some times where they say to George, like, it's a day off, you're not playing. But today was not one of those days. They want to try to keep him healthy by, reducing the number of games a little bit. Wagner hits it well down the right field line. It is fair and off the wall, and Wagner is sliding into second with a double.
Now, this is a big inning for the Blue Jays, given where they are in the game. They're down by 3. The bottom part of the order, you get a left-hander in the game, and Will Wagner has earned the right to stay into the ballgame with one out, and he just misses hitting a home run. This ball down into the right field corner. He's going to end up at second base with a 1-out double. And now you got 2 right-handed batters, and Aiken has to face them both.
Davis Schneider 0 for 2. And it looks like we have George Springer getting the gear back on again. Nathan Lucas, a left-handed hitter, was a couple of spots away.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good move, and Don Mattingly and John Schneider will talk about these options they had, and I think you're right, Dan. I think had Alejandro Kirk reached base, Springer might have hit then, because certainly he's a threat to hit. But now, if you get a couple more on when you get to Nathan Lucas, and then, of course, the Orioles can go to a right-hander at that point.
Right, and they've got one up in the pen right now. Little chess being played here in the 6th inning. Swing and a miss on a fastball away, and Aiken gets Schneider 2 down. That right-hander is Sir Anthony Dominguez.
Dominguez has already appeared this season. He pitched in the opener on Thursday afternoon.
2 down. Wagner still out at second. Here's Ernie Clement. there will be games, whether it's Springer or maybe Davis Schneider, if he's not in the lineup, where John Schneider will decide, does he want to use either or both as pinch hitters for Rodin, for Wagner, for Lucas, for none, for some. There is no world where it's just going to be roll out those 9 and those 9 play the game. This team is going to use its pinch hitting possibilities and its defensive versatility extensively this year. Saw it in the spring, seen it in the early going here today or this season. Still 0-2 on Clement. Well, I tell you, every day though you watch Will Wagner, you know, he can hit, man.
He can really hit, and you know it doesn't make any difference. And he's got that slow heartbeat where he doesn't get rattled. He's got a lot of confidence in himself, and it's a very, very quiet confidence for sure. But he thinks he can hit, and I think he's right. I agree with him.
Yeah. I agree with you agreeing with him. And whether it's third base, first base, or DH, they're at bats. Maybe not, you know, 600 at bats, but there might be a good 400 to 500 at bats out there for him. And every time he does well against a lefty helps as well. Ground out by Clement, and the Wagner double is stranded. Today, these Baltimore Orioles have a deep and potent offensive team. You see how highly they ranked last year, and that's with some guys, most notably Adley Rutschman, not having the same kind of second half they had in the first half. They could easily match these numbers again this year.
Yeah, for sure. And they just have a balanced attack. You can see Brandon Hyde talking to his new bench coach, Robinson Chirinos. And Chirinos, a very young bench coach. He's not too far removed from his playing days as a former catcher. And he has been a manager in Venezuela, and he is now their bench coach, and he was discussing the options they have, of course, going forward. 7th inning, and it's still a game within reach for the Blue Jays. They only trail by 3, but you got to put up a couple more zeros here.
Chad Green is back out there, got the last 2 outs in the 6th. And he's got 3, 4, 5 coming up here. Ryan O'Hearn, Jordan Westberg, and Cedric Mullins. In at the knees, 1-1. And another fastball at the knees, 1-2.
Yeah, that's a good place to go. Anytime you can get a fastball at 95 down and away, I don't care if he's a lefty or a righty, that's a pretty good place to go.
Now to the slider, and it's fouled off. Slider again, still 1-2. You like the orange Orioles uniforms? You like the orange uniforms?
Yeah, I don't mind them. You know, a few years ago, I think they ran an all orange uniform out. I don't mind the white pants and orange top. I think that looks good, and the gray slacks. They Great pants match well.
Ynier Cano has gotten up now in the bullpen. It's 9-1-2 coming up for the Blue Jays. 1 and 2, of course, are Bichette and Guerrero. Way up in the air, shallow right field. And Santander calls off Jimenez, 1 down.
How will your journey evolve?
So Chad Green has faced 3 and retired all 3 here today. He'll now deal with Jordan Westburg, who was 2 for 3, hit a home run in the first. High drive to deep center. Lucas is going back, jumps, and cannot make the catch. Just beyond his reach, and it's the 2nd home run of the afternoon for Westburg.
That's the 2nd home run that Chad Green has given up in 2 games. He gave up a 3-run home run. The first batter he faced on Thursday afternoon. Cedric Mullins hit a 3-run home run. That home run was also to center field, and this pitch just kind of hangs up out over the plate, and you can see it's middle. I think Lucas gets a piece of this.
Yep.
It went off his glove. He timed it perfectly, but just beyond his reach. 3rd home run they've hit today. Good effort by Nathan Lucas, and you can see just tipped off the thumb of his glove.
Yeah, looked into his glove on the way back down. Wasn't quite sure whether he had it or not. Westburg could be a much more of a household name by the end of the season. He had a good year last year. He's off to a good start in this one. Great start in this one. Fly ball to right, and Mullins retired, 2 down. The home run ball, a big problem for the Blue Jay pitching staff a year ago. They allowed the 2nd most home runs in the majors at 208.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because the Rockies had 221 hit against them, and they obviously play at elevation, and the ball flies out there at Coors Field. The Blue Jays had a tough season giving up the long ball. Kevin Gausman was good yesterday. He had good velocity. Mountain Francis will start on Monday against the Nationals in this series opener.
Chris Bassett will start the finale of this series tomorrow with the Westburg home run, his first career multi-home run game. By the way, Baltimore's hit 10 home runs in this series. The Blue Jays have hit 1. And just the way the game is today, it's hard to win if you don't compete in the home run department.
Yeah, they got to be close in home runs. And a couple of years ago, Blue Jays were one of the best at hitting home runs, and then they traded away some of their power. But Jordan Westburg, he hit 18 home runs a year ago.
And my mistake, Blue Jays have hit 2. Jimenez has 2 home runs, but Baltimore's hit 10 home runs in this series. There's a guy who could hit some home runs. And that's why they got Santander, right? Needed some power. Hopefully a full healthy season of Bichette adds some power as well. The 2-2 to Kjerstad is strike 3 call. Another run for the Orioles. 9-5 Baltimore. 7th inning stretch. Bottom of the 7th here with the Rogers Center. The Orioles 9 and the Blue Jays 5 in front of a crowd of 27,005 here this afternoon. And Brandon Hyde has gone to right-hander Yennier Cano. A good year last year, a great year the year before. Was an all-star 2 years ago, especially in the front half of the 23 season. He was about as good as anybody. Last year had a .315 ERA in 70 appearances. He will face Nathan Lucas, Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Yeah, and he was used a little bit more in a different role last year in his all-star season in 2023. He had 8 saves, but he was primarily the 8th inning guy. Ramon Laureano takes over defensively in right, replacing Heston Kjerstad.
So Lucas trying to get something started. He did that in the 5th, drew a leadoff walk, and eventually came in on a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. ground ball. Fouled off again, 0-2. Down and away for ball 1. That is a changeup at 92 miles an hour there for Yennier Cano. It really looks much more like a hard two-seam fastball.
There's a cutter, a fastball, and that changeup.
And there's the fastball to get him in the inside corner. 1 down.
95 out on the inside corner, and he is very, very effective. And obviously now he's got the insurance of having Felix Bautista behind him. That movement catches the inside corner. Starts off the plate inside, and a lot of hitters will see it inside, but that movement takes it over the corner.
Bo Bichette the batter. Bichette is 2 for 2 with a walk today, a couple of base hits, and he has scored a couple of runs. On the corner, 1-1. Jimmy Garcia's up. So with Scherzer having to exit the game early with soreness in his lat, the Blue Jays have had to run through a number of relievers, and Bucket, it looks like Jimmy Garcia and then Jeff Hoffman are both going to have to pitch in this game.
Yeah, Hoffman has not pitched yet this season, so I'll get him into a game and hopefully just as few pitches as possible. That's the one thing that really sets your team back, is a short outing by your starter. You have to bridge some innings, and if you don't have those multiple inning guys, and their long man, Yair Rodriguez, threw 36 pitches in an inning work on opening day. Swing it, Bo.
Another good swing by Bichette. He laces one into the left field corner. His 3rd hit of the day, and this one is a double.
Bo had a abbreviated season a year ago. He started just 81 games at shortstop because of a couple of key injuries, and boy, he gets to that ball. That's a sinking fastball down around the knees, and he gets to it very easily. He's swinging the bat very well and has all spring long.
Runner at second, 1 out for Guerrero. Vladdy has singled, struck out, and then, as we mentioned moments ago, driven in a run on a ground ball. Chased a hard slider away, 1-1.
Yeah, Vladdy is just 1 for 9 facing Cano. And you can see that hard slider starts on the outside corner. Vladdy went after it.
That one, a bit of a different break. Didn't break as much and kind of broke straight down. Misses for ball 2.
Vladdy not happy with that last swing. He chased the pitch. It was off the plate inside.
reaches for it, pokes it foul.
Facing Cano is no day at the
No,
beach,
it
I'll
isn't.
tell you that. And look at this slider that Vada's able to spoil. And after chasing that pitch inside, he really had to do a lot just to foul this pitch off and keep it going.
Down low, full count. Left-hander Gregory Soto is up in the pen for the Orioles. The former Oriole and the switch hitter Anthony Santander on deck. Then left-hand hitting Andres Jimenez behind him. Grounded to second. Guerrero retired. 2 down. Bichette to third. So Brandon Hyde has his choice now, and of course he knows Anthony Santander as well as anybody. Would you rather have Soto face him with Santander hitting left, or excuse me, Cano face him with Santander hitting left, or Soto face him with Santander hitting right? And the decision has been made. They would rather have Cano stay in the game. Santander 1 for 3, had an RBI single in the first.
That looked like a pretty good pitch, and Gary Sanchez turned around to the umpire. I didn't ask him what was wrong with that last pitch.
Pulled foul past Mark Budzinski. It's a ball and a strike. Down and in.
Get the head out. He hit it into the suites in the 4th level over the Orioles dugout. I mean, he got out in front of that one. That might have been that changeup that Cano throws. It looks like a regular sinking fastball.
Two and two on Santander. High fastball foul back. Bichette at third, 2 down. The Blue Jays down 4 in the bottom of the 7th. Game 3 of a 4-game set. And a swing and a miss. Good pitch by Cano. And the Bichette double is stranded. Time now for a Blue Jays Central update. Here are Jamie, Joe, and Caleb in the Home Hardware Studio. exclusive Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Silver Slugger bobblehead. Be one of the first 15,000 fans on Monday, and you can add this to your bobblehead collection. Secure yours now at BlueJays.com/promotions. That is Monday night. Nationals in town. About Francis will get the start, and that is the Vladdy-approved Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Silver Slugger bobblehead. 9-5 Orioles, top of the 8th inning. And pitcher number 5 on the afternoon for the Blue Jays will be right-hander Jimmy Garcia.
Jimmy Garcia is going to make his second appearance. He had a very good inning of work first time out. Faced 3 batters through just 14 pitches.
Gary Sanchez pulls the first pitch foul.
You know, we talk all spring long about opening day. Who's going to make the opening day roster? Who's going to be on the roster? What is the roster going to look like? And then you get into the first week of the season, and now I'm sure the Blue Jays are contemplating some roster moves already. I mean, you don't know about Scherzer. You don't know the significance of his injury, and, you know, they're a little short-handed already. And Pete Walker, I mean, this is his worst nightmare. You come into a season all prepared. You think you got your bullpen all set up, and then you have a short outing by your starter, and all of a sudden you got to shift gears a little bit. Barrios was out early in the game, and now Scherzer had an injury, and you've had to go deep into your bullpen before you ever anticipated that. And, you know, people think, well, pitching coaches, all they do is sit down there and talk about pitching and everything else. They got to plan a schedule. They got to figure out how they can get you innings. I can remember when I was managing, Mark Connor was my pitching coach, and he'd come to my office and he'd say, you know, Skip, I don't know if we've got 9 innings today. And that's a horrible feeling as a manager because of the overuse or the ineffectiveness of a couple of 2 or 3 pitchers on your staff. It just throws everything out of kilter. And all of a sudden you're scrambling saying, you know, first of all, you don't want to jeopardize anybody's health, and you're not going to pitch them when they have pitched a lot. So it's really a challenge here when in game 3 of the season you already got to think about how are we going to get through this next game here against the Orioles and then 3-game series against the Nationals.
A couple of the guys who pitched today would be able to pitch tomorrow. Brendan Little, again, hopefully the lat issue is minor, but it doesn't look like he's in the cards for today. Would he be available for tomorrow? We don't know until after the game, or maybe even tomorrow. So you're right, there's Little. It's possible there will be a move before tomorrow's game.
And, you know, the pitching coach, he'll go around and check with everybody, and he'll check with them tonight after their outing, and then Pete will get out there tomorrow when they start to throw and go from man to man in that bullpen and say, okay, how do you feel? What do you got? Can you give me an inning? Can you give me an out? All those conversations take place on a daily basis. Chris Bassett, he understands the value of a deep start, and he'll hopefully go deep into the game. There's his battery mate for tomorrow's game, Tanner Heineman. I'm sure they have talked about the hitters and their approach tomorrow against this Orioles lineup.
And if there's one thing Bassett tries to do every time out, whether he's got his good stuff or not, is he wants to get as deep into a game as possible. He talks a lot, I mean a lot, about not wanting to put the bullpen in a difficult situation. It means a lot to him to get as many outs as he can.
And you know what? He's had 1 season of 200 innings in his career a couple of years ago, and he takes a lot of pride in saving as many outs in that bullpen during his start as he can.
Holiday chops it to the left side. Clement gets rid of it in a hurry. 2 down. So a couple of outs for Jimmy Garcia here in the 8th, and now he'll face the number 9 hitter in Ramon Urias.
You know, getting back to the situation of a manager, George Poulos was my trainer when I was managing the Blue Jays, and that's the last guy I wanted to see after a game. Come on, knock my ice, George, get out of here. I don't want to here. But he'd come in and say, hey, Skip, you know, this guy's down, that guy can't work, he can't play tomorrow, those types of things.
Jimenez cutting in front of Bichette, and the throw past Guerrero, but it stays in play. Urias will be aboard on an infield hit. That's an interesting play because Jimenez has great range, but live, just looking at it, it looked like an easier play for Bichette. his momentum's coming towards first.
No question about it. A much easier play for the shortstop, and Bo was positioned perfectly to make the play. But you can see how far in the hole he was, but he got a good break on contact. So, you know, this is part of shortstop, second baseman learning the range of each other, but Bo ranged really well on that ball, and it would have been a much easier play for him than for Andres cutting in front of Bo.
Is there enough time at a ball like that on the infield for Bichette to holler, and maybe he was?
Yeah, you can do that from time to time, but Bo was positioned perfectly. And at the start of the play, he was in the hole.
Yeah.
He was playing the hitter to pull, but he got a good break and read it very perfectly. But I'm sure they'll talk about that one after the game, and I'm sure Andres will come over and say, Bo, could you have made that play?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, I was right there. So it's all about communicating, all about getting used to playing with a new partner up the middle.
Yeah, both ways. Bichette getting to know Jimenez, Jimenez getting to know Bichette, and the same thing on balls in the 3-4 hole between Jimenez and Guerrero.
Yeah, and Vladdy last year didn't have a terrific season defensively because he was playing with a different second baseman almost every night. And you just don't know how far that particular second baseman can range on a given day. So this part of the infield should be much more consistent as soon as they get a few more games under the belt.
And obviously, all things being equal, even though Jimenez has great range, Bichette is likely to be able to get a lot more on the throw because his momentum is going in the right direction. Jimenez is going the other way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a much easier play for a shortstop, and I'm sure Andres realizes that.
Line to second, and that'll be that. A line out to Jimenez, retires Cowser, and it's on to the bottom of the 8th. How about another installment of the Battle of Alberta on a Saturday night? Catch Hockey Night in Canada. The Flames and the Oilers beginning tonight at 10 Eastern, 8 Mountain on Sportsnet and CBC. Thankful for a roof this weekend. A little gray and dreary and rainy and not the best weather weekend here in Toronto. But here with the Dome, it's 9-5 Orioles, bottom of the 8th. Second appearance in as many days for left-hander Gregory Soto.
Yeah, Soto's got a big arm, man. He's a powerful lefty. They've put together a pretty good bullpen, especially now that they got the big guy at the end, Felix Bautista, back. He was injured last year, missed the entire season.
Andres Jimenez leads it off for the Blue Jays, 1 for 3, a 2-run homer in the 3rd. And there's George Springer in ready mode again. Will Wagner a couple of spots away. Soto has to face 3 batters, so that spot's definitely going to come up.
Well, he struck out the side in his inning of work yesterday.
He He's not the most consistent guy in the world, but his good is really good. When he's on, he's a tough guy to deal with. The command, though, can come and go, and he'll put Jimenez on to begin the inning. So now Alejandro Kirk 0 for 2 and a sac fly back in the first. Alan Roden has been told his services may be required here today. Baltimore's already got a righty up in the pen. Dominguez is up for the second time. There could be lots of stuff going on here in the bottom of the eighth. And it looked like Kirk called time, and I believe it was granted. Just saw Ryan Addington, the umpire, point at Kirk, so that's no pitch.
Now 0-2, and watch Kirk. He's going to ask for time. The umpire calls time. The pitch is delivered, but it's no pitch.
And then a swing and a miss at 97 for strike 3. So now Springer will come to the plate to pinch hit for Wagner. Springer not in the lineup for the first time today. John Schneider saying they're going to try to manage the days. They did the same thing last year. Try to keep them healthy, pick their spots, day game after night game, that sort of thing. But available off the bench today. One ball, one strike. And Gary Sanchez didn't like that at all. He's going out to talk to Soto.
It was kind of a slide step delivery when you don't expect it to be a running situation. And I think he was more thinking about the baseball card of Jimenez at first base with his steals, but the score dictates that you don't run in this situation. I think that's what Sanchez wants to discuss. Hey, focus on the hitter. Don't worry about that guy at first. You know, George Springer has never been a pinch hitter very often. I think he's only had 19 plate appearances or 19 at bats as a pinch hitter. Just hasn't had too many opportunities. He's an everyday player.
Jimenez the lead, and the 1-1 inside at 98, ball 2. Again, 3-1. Soto can be his own worst enemy sometimes.
He's got a great arm, man. He's never been one of those guys that just comes in and can pound the strike zone. We did mention that he struck out the side in his appearance in last night's game in his 1 inning of work.
Not close, ball 4. So he has walked 2 of the 3 batters he's faced. And now it's up to Brandon Hyde. And I think we have our answer. Or do we?
He went to the top step and wanted to wait for confirmation that he had their pitcher ready down in the bullpen. And there's the call to the bullpen. So Soto has walked himself right out of this game.
Phase 3, walk 2. Dominguez, the right-hander, coming in. Our throwing right-hander, Sir Anthony Dominguez, making his second appearance of the series. Worked a scoreless inning Thursday. Did give up a hit and a couple of walks, though. Back in here with a couple of men on, and Alan Roden coming into the game, pinch hitting for Davis Schneider.
Now, Roden has played in 2 games. Now he's going to pinch hit for the first time in his young career. And this morning, John Snyder reminded him, hey, Alan, you know, you might pinch hit. Have you ever pinch hit? He said, I didn't pinch hit much in the minors. And then Snyder said, well, you should get ready. He said, I've already hit against their bullpen this morning down in the cage at 10:30. So he was already anticipating he might get a pinch hitting role today, and he was even ahead of the manager's thoughts.
Has made a very favorable impression this spring and in the first couple of days of the regular season. Takes a breaking ball inside for ball 1. Dominguez kind of similar to Soto, but from the right side. The stuff's really good, but the command can come and go. Roden has a well-earned reputation of having a very good idea of the strike zone. And a little broken bat, soft liner to third for out number 2. The catch made by Urias.
Dominguez got that fastball in on the hands of Roden and jammed him.
So 2 down. Now it's up to Ernie Clement. Clement is 0 for 3. Jimenez at second and Springer at first.
Pretty good block by Sanchez right there. That breaking ball was in the dirt. He moved quickly to his right and got in front of it. And ball gets away from him. Going to have 2 runners in scoring position, but he did a pretty good job of shifting over there to the right.
Swing and a miss at a breaking ball, 1-1. Nine runs, 11 hits for the Orioles, 5 runs, 7 hits for the Blue Jays. Each team has left 4 men on. And again, the breaking ball swung on and missed, 1-2. Jeff Hoffman will make his regular season Blue Jay debut this afternoon. Looks like the game plan is not to give Ernie a fastball there.
Yeah, he has seen nothing but breaking balls in this at bat, and you can see Dominguez shaking off the offerings of Sanchez.
There's the first one, but it misses a full count, and that means the runners will be on the move.
I mean, given what he has done to Clement in this at bat, I got to expect he's going to throw him a 3-2 breaking ball.
He did, and he got him. So the Blue Jays leave 2 men on here in the bottom of the 8th. It is still 9-5 for the Orioles. This coming Wednesday is the first afternoon work from Dome game of the season. Tell your boss you're working from Dome. First pitch at 3:07. The Nationals are here. It's the perfect excuse to leave the office early. Visit BlueJays.com/promotions to grab your tickets today. Well, Max Scherzer unfortunately had to leave the game after 3 innings, soreness in his lat. And then the Orioles had big innings in the middle innings, 4 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth. So they lead 9-5. Here's Jeff Hoffman, who is going to be the primary closer for the Blue Jays. You see his numbers with the Phillies from a year ago. Signed a 3-year deal in the offseason with the Blue Jays, the team that drafted him in the first round way back in 2014 before he was part of the Troy Tulowitzki deal in 2015. This is high, 2-0 on Adley Rutschman. Alan Roden remains in the game in left field. Hoffman, 32 years of age. Time with the Rockies, the Reds, and then the last 2 years with Philadelphia, an all-star with the Phillies a year ago.
And he actually had a deal with Baltimore and failed the physical. He too had another contract with the Atlanta Braves and failed their physical as well. But the Blue Jays didn't see anything that set up a red flag for them. And I haven't seen any concern whatsoever from the moment he joined the Blue Jays. And he has had great bullpens. He had a good spring, and he's thrown the ball very well. And I asked him about it the other day. I said, how surprised were you when you failed the physical? He said, I was shocked. He said, I had nothing going on. I felt great, and 2 teams turned him down.
To the left side, nice play by Clement on to first, just in time to get Rutschman. And the out is recorded. The ball popped out of Guerrero's mitt, but it was on the transfer after. No argument from the Orioles.
Yeah, nice play by Ernie. He was well over near the shortstop position when he makes this play. Kind of slips, feels it, gets to his feet in a hurry, and glad he caught it. But when he was going in to get the ball out of his glove, he drops it. So Rutschman is out.
One down. Ryan O'Hearn is the batter. O'Hearn 2 for 4 on the afternoon. That was a slider from Hoffman. He's a bit of an anomaly as a closer or a high leverage reliever. He's got 4 pitches. The slider on the first pitch, 4-seamer to righties and lefties, slider to righties and lefties, splitter mostly to lefties, 2-seamer mostly to righties. But I mean, a lot of late inning relievers are just fastball slider guys. Right. He's got more weapons.
Yeah, he's got that third pitch, if you will. A very good splitter to go with that slider.
And he's got 97.
Yeah, man, he's you know what he said? He learned an awful lot when he was in that Philly bullpen with more veteran pitchers in that pen. And he said, I just learned how you really prepare and how you bounce back from a shaky outing. And he's in a good spot. That's a good breaking ball on the outside corner. He feels like not only can he be effective when he's on the mound, he can be effective when he's down in that bullpen as a leader in that bullpen. And you always need somebody down there that can take the lead and kind of keep everybody in focused.
Still 2-2.
You know, when you have a guy like Hoffman, a little bit of a veteran, he's not been a regular closer before this opportunity, but he can get down there and say, okay, let's watch this hitter. What are we doing to Rutschman? How come Rutschman's hitting us so well? Those conversations can be ongoing down in that bullpen.
98 fouled off. Had 10 saves last year for the Phillies. Prior to that, 2 saves in his career. At times in his career, he bounced back and forth with the Rockies, with the Reds, started some games, then went back to the bullpen. Really seemed to come into his own the last 2 years with the Phillies when he pitched exclusively out of the pen. Line drive to right field, and Santander is there, 2 down.
Rogers Xfinity. Game-changing internet. Stream, share, and score big with Canada's most reliable internet.
Felix Bautista Up in the Orioles' pen, their closer missed all of last year, recovering from Tommy John surgery. Boy, it looked good, but Kirk was set up inside, had to reach across, so they don't get the call. It's ball 1 to Jordan Westburg. Westburg has had a 2-home run day. Got jammed. Charging Bichette. And Westburg beats it out. His second infield hit of the game. He's now 4 for 5.
And how much the Blue Jays infielders could do as Hoffman jammed him to the point where he had a very weak roller towards shortstop. Ernie Clement was trying to cut in front of Bo, but he couldn't get there in time. And Bo has to make the throw on the run, just not in time to retire the batter.
Westburg can run a little bit. He's at first. The batter is Cedric Mullins. And the Blue Jays driving back to the bag. Clement playing in tight at third as Mullins takes it high, ball 1. Hopefully Hoffman can finish off this inning quickly and be available tomorrow. This is not the ideal situation to bring him in, but short on arms here today.
And too, Hoffman hadn't pitched until this outing this afternoon, so it had been quite a while since he had last pitched. His last spring appearance was the 21st of March.
This is low with a slider, 3-0. Tough day at the office for Pete Walker.
Yeah, and you know, this is a tough situation we talked about earlier, what a pitching coach goes through when their starter is bumped early.
Swinging away, 3-0.
So now after this game, Pete Walker will check with his relievers and say, how'd you feel after that outing? And so he can assess what he might have available in support of Chris Bassett, who starts tomorrow's game.
Another fastball, 3-2. So Westburg will be running. Guerrero letting Hoffman know he's going to play behind the runner. And he got him. Hoffman with his first strikeout in a Blue Jay uniform. And it is on to the bottom of the ninth. $50 is the Blue Jays bonus draw. More chances to win incredible prizes. The season's first amazing April draw has 52 bonus prizes, including, as you can see, a vacation to the Bahamas, and also a trip to the All-Star Game in Atlanta. Head to BlueJays.com/5050 from anywhere in Ontario or Nova Scotia. Select your bonus raffle tickets at checkout, and you'll be eligible for Jays Care's best prize offerings ever. Well, there's a lot of work to be done here in the bottom of the ninth. The Blue Jays are down 9-5. And they will have to face Felix Bautista. Again, missed all of last year recovering from Tommy John surgery, but when he is healthy, he is one of the very best.
Had 33 saves in his last healthy season in 2023. He pitched a total of 61 innings that year and allowed just 30 hits and had 110 strikeouts in 61 innings. I mean, he gets it up there in a heartbeat, and he is healthy. His velocity hasn't ticked up in the spring like it did when he was healthy, but they're confident it will come back.
Ryan Mountcastle takes over for Ryan O'Hearn at first base. And the first batter that Bautista will face is Nathan Lucas. And there was a pitch clock violation on a Bautista, so this begins with a 1-0 count. And now 2-0. After Lucas, top of the order, Bichette and Guerrero. Brandon Hyde has had to use 6 pitchers today, but he's got a guy he trusts a lot on the mound with a 4-run lead. 98 fouled back, so he's getting there.
Yeah, he is getting there indeed. He made 6 appearances in spring. He had 11 strikeouts in those 5 1/3 innings of work.
Full count. A splitter about a foot above the zone. And he gets Lucas to go after a splitter down and strikes him out.
A nasty splitter. That previous pitch was up. He didn't get through it, but this time he really threw it very effectively. You see the grip and those big hands, how he could really get a lot of movement on it, and that ball just never got to home plate.
So now Bo Bichette, who has had himself a really good day, 3 for 3 with a walk, 2 singles and a double. And he reached base his last 3 times last night, a hit by pitch and a couple of singles. So he's been on base 7 times in a row, 5 hits, a walk, and a hit by pitch.
That's why he's in the leadoff spot. He gets on base. Everybody just thinks, oh, you got to walk to get on base. He hits to get on base.
Just low, ball 2.
Boy, that's a good take. That's a tough pitch to take. Well, there's something that the Blue Jays can smile about. Jeff Hoffman had an efficient inning, and he'll be available to go tomorrow.
Down the left field line, another well-hit ball, and this one is off the wall on the fly. It's the 4th hit of the game for Bichette and his 2nd double.
Well, we told you Bo's the best hitter on the team, and he can hit good pitching. There's nothing better than Felix Bautista when he's right, and he gets this breaking ball. It stays inside. It didn't break away, and Bo hammers it halfway up the wall in left field. Been on base 5 times he's come to the plate. 8 straight at bats he's reached base.
He's off to a great start this season. Here's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Vladdy 1 for 4, had a base hit in the first. Slider for a strike. Tomorrow in the finale of this series, it'll be Chris Bassett for the Blue Jays and right-hander Tomoyuki Sugano for the Orioles, 35-year-old who just signed in the offseason, coming over from Japan. This is going to get into the netting. 12 years in Japan, a very accomplished starting pitcher. This will be his major league debut.
Yeah, I spoke to him yesterday through an interpreter and asked him what it would mean to make a major league start. He says 12 years in the Japanese league, that was a chapter. Tomorrow will be another chapter.
Ball went one way, bat went another way, and it's still 1-2 on Guerrero.
Vladdy just lost the grip of that bat, and that's the benefit of having that netting all around the ballpark now.
Santander is almost, he's much closer to being behind the plate than the on-deck circle. He wants to get a look at his ex-teammate as much as he can. And Guerrero down on strikes for out number 2.
Another good splitter right there. Bautista was able to get it in a good zone, and you could see the grip, and he gets a lot of late movement on that splitter, and because he throws so hard, you got to get that bat going, and it's difficult to wait and make a decision whether it's a splitter or a fastball.
So the Blue Jays down to their final out, as Ryan Addington tells Bautista, you got to let the hitter get set before you get set out of the mound. Santander in the box, and now Bautista comes set. Well, a lot of the news after the ball game, I would imagine, Buck, will center around how Max Scherzer is feeling, what they know, what they think, and again, maybe it'll be a few days till we know more, but I'm sure Max himself will speak. John Schneider will speak. And hopefully not too serious.
Yeah, just got to keep your fingers crossed that it's something that he felt early, recognized it early, and got himself out of the ball game before it got any worse. Then the evaluation of what you have left in your bullpen. Do you have to make a roster move? Get ready for the next 4 games on this homestand. Final game against the Orioles, 3 more against the Nationals before the Blue Jays take off, then have an off day Thursday before they take on the New York Mets in the Mets home opener.
Mets, Red Sox, Orioles, 10-game road trip.
Yeah, tough one.
Ball 4. Bautista not close with any of them. So Santander is aboard. And now, if Andres Jimenez can reach, the Blue Jays will get the tying run of the plate. Jimenez 1 for 3 with a walk. The one, his second home run of the season.
Yeah, you've got to be patient enough right now to force Bautista into throwing a strike. He's having more trouble with his fastball command than his other 2 pitches, the slider and the splitter. So he goes to the slider to throw a strike.
Drops it in there, 1-1. Alan Roden still a few spots away, came on as a pinch hitter in the 8th inning, hoping to get another at bat. Here's a swing and a miss. That was a splitter there at 89, and it's 1-2. Bichette out at second, Santander at first, but the Blue Jays are down to their final strike. he got him. Another nasty splitter to get Jimenez, and that ends the ball game. The Orioles take 2 of the first 3, the 4th and final game tomorrow, but here today, more power from the Orioles. 2 home runs for Jordan Westburg, and those big innings in the middle after Scherzer had come out of the game, the big difference.
Yeah, the bullpen just couldn't hold the Orioles in check and give the offense a chance to come back. They made a bit of a comeback, but 4 runs for Baltimore in the 4th inning, 2 more in the 5th inning, and that was basically the difference in the ball game. The Orioles can swing the bats, and the Blue Jays will play for a split of the 4 games tomorrow afternoon.
Chris Bassett will make his season debut, and we will have it for you tomorrow on Sportsnet. Time now to join Jamie, Joe, and Caleb in the Home Hardware studio.